the Delhi government's solution for the moment. Let's break this down. What's happening in Delhi, what's happening in Mumbai. And for that, our guest tonight is Jyoti Pande Lavakare, the author of the book, Breathing Here is Injurious to Your Health, The Hidden Cost of Air Pollution. She's joining us on the show. Great to have you with us. But do tell us up front, do you think the measures that are being suggested by the Delhi Environment Minister, we heard, like pushing public transport over private vehicle use, or what is happening in Mumbai, the BMC is threatening to halt construction activity. Are these going to help reduce pollution in any substantive way? Because it's an annual problem. Or do you think we're going to need something much stronger to tackle this menace? It becomes acute, it becomes unbearable around October, November every year. And Mumbai's air quality is becoming even worse than Delhi's, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And I think there is absolutely no political will by any political party to sort this problem out, because all reactive measures like what are being discussed today, these are all reactive measures. When pollution is so high is when all these measures are being talked about. But really what is, at least in Delhi, causing pollution right now are the farm fires, the burning of crop stubble, the fact that there isn't enough wind. And we know that there is nothing new that has happened that has, these are all things that the government knows about. We don't have enough public transport. Forget about, there are at least 10 different things that cause pollution. Crop stubble burning is currently the highest. After this, there will be Diwali, where the firecracker ban will be flouted by everybody, and the governments will turn a blind eye to this. This is going to continue, and it is not just Delhi. I want to say this again and again. There are over 500 million people in the Indo-Gangetic plain who are suffering by breathing these noxious fumes. It's like smoking. Abhi, we are just smoking maybe 5 or 6 or 7 cigarettes a day. This keeps going up, and it will go up until we are smoking 20 cigarettes a day without putting a cigarette to our lips. And, the government talks all the time about growth, but no one talks about development. Right. When you have a sick population in hands, and we have a lot of young people, we talk about India's young demographic, but when those young people's lungs are going to have cancer in them, and you have every sort of disease that happens with these toxic fumes, then I don't know which way the government is going to...
So, ma'am, you're making a very sharp distinction between growth and development. And some would say that this is the price that you have to pay, ridiculously low air quality. Is it really? Because in your book, you've mentioned the hidden cost of air pollution. What exactly is that? And does it override the cost of development that we're talking about?
So, right now, the people who are polluting are not the ones who are suffering from this air pollution, when the cost is actually borne by people who are not really the polluters. See, what happens is when you have industry polluting and they are making all the profits, but the smoke that's belching out of their chimneys is being inhaled by the poor people around who live there, and they are paying that cost with their lungs, with their health. That is what the hidden cost is, because polluters do not pay in our country, unfortunately. And when I talk of development versus growth, I'm talking about things like quality of life. This is not just death that we are talking about, of which there is happening. There are 7 million deaths annually, and India has a large proportion of those, and they are growing. I'm also talking of disability and disease. And we have an extremely diseased population, and this is a silent, hidden pandemic that it's been a national health emergency for years, and the governments, none of the parties have taken it seriously. When the Congress was in power in Punjab, the Aam Aadmi Party would go on and on crying about how the farm fires are affecting the population of Delhi and how we are all suffering. Now there is total silence because the Aam Aadmi Party is now in power there. Yes. In Haryana, where actually the BJP is in power, this year we are seeing a trend where farm fires are more in Haryana than in Punjab. So again, that blame game is going to start.
Absolutely. Even as we look at it state-wise, ma'am, while a lot of responsibility does rest with the administration, what about the kind of awareness that exists among citizens and how we conduct ourselves? Is that enough right now? What's the personal contribution each of us can make to ensure that all of us get to breathe cleaner air in the near future?
Of course, we are all complicit, and we are all implicated in this, and we all have our own. I mean, let's talk about us. How many of us segregate our garbage? And when we do segregate it, how many of us make sure that it is going in the correct? Like, I have a van that comes to collect, an NDMC van that comes to collect garbage. I want to make sure that it is being taken in the segregated manner that it is going from here, because the other big cause of air pollution is open burning of garbage. Now, as the winters come, it's the poor people who will be now burning biomass to keep themselves warm, and we'll be telling our guards, please don't burn burn twigs and leaves and biomass. But really, what are we doing to ensure that they are taken care of? Air pollution is also a huge inequity, because the people who have to go out there and earn their living are the construction workers.
Yes,
they are the traffic policemen. They are the people who can't afford to sit at home with air purifiers on.
Yes.
So it is a huge inequity.
But
and the government
apart from
itself,
the medical issues, ma'am, like breathing issues you spoke about, chronic coughs, pulmonary diseases, all of these that citizens face, what are the economic costs that we would have to incur if we don't plug our pollution problem in our big cities and towns?
there are huge costs of economic costs. I think there is one study that has been done by the World Bank itself, which shows that the cost of, there is an 8% fall in, you could have 8% more GDP when they are talking. There's a certain number, it's not coming to my mind right now, but the economic costs of air pollution are as large. In fact, they have shown that if you take care of people, the loss in productivity, the loss in days, the number of days people don't show up to work because they have asthma and wheezing. And again, I want to point out, this is not just a respiratory issue. There are 70,000 scientific papers that link air pollution to human health harm, including cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and all sorts of other diseases. So when you have a diseased population trying to increase the productivity of the country, I mean, it's only logical that we could have so much more GDP if we had a strong and healthy population. And again, I want to point out, it's the young people who are affected the most. It's our children who are affected the absolute most, because their lung sizes, they are actually taking in more pollution per lung size than older people. So their lungs, we are known to have the worst lung function. Our children have the smallest sizes of lungs. What kind of growth is this, where we are trading off money for our health?
Yes. So what we don't need are just reactive steps. And that needs to be an ongoing kind of cycle. You're thinking of it as a policy move, but as far as individual action is concerned, we need to do more ourselves as well. So the buck doesn't stop with any one particular person. It is something that we as a society need to tackle. Until then, we are going to see these high AQIs, which are going to be wreaking havoc with our health. Thank you indeed for joining us, Jyoti Pande Lavakare. It's a pleasure having you with us and your perspective here on this edition of India Tonight. With that, we are completely out of time on the show. But of course, we leave you with the promise of being back at 9 o'clock tonight, right here on ET Now with Business at 9. I'm Vikram from me and the team. Thank you, Neat, for joining us. Have a good evening ahead.